Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of As Real As It Gets. I am doing a video podcast, just trying something different here, and you are in my bedroom actually, and I'm on my bed and I'm in my pajamas because I need to be in a comfortable setting for this kind of video, or like this kind of episode, this kind of topic, because I will be telling you guys about my sexuality, and it is very much not easy because I do not understand. Like, it's not because I don't want to tell you guys, I just don't know how. But to give you the basics, I am queer. I like women, I like guys, I like anybody pretty much. Some people are like, oh, so you're pansexual. Sure, but like just the idea of labels has never really sat with me. Like, I don't want to just be one thing, if that makes any sense. I don't know, it's just, it feels very restricting, and it feels like I only have to be one thing and I only have to stick with it for the rest of my life. Like, it just feels final. And sexuality is very much not that, you know? It is something that constantly changes, and I feel like we should normalize that, because when we hear the term gay or when we hear the term lesbian, it's like, oh, you love women or men all the time, 24/7, 365, like, you know, all that stuff. But when you hear about people who like multiple genders, you kind of either associate it with pansexual or bisexual. And when you think of bisexual, you think of like 50-50, like, oh, they like men and women the same amount, which is definitely not the case, let me tell you. There are so many people out there who do like men and women, but it's not the same variation, you know what I mean? Some people like women more than men, some people like men more than women. Right now, where I am, I would say that I like women more than men. But there have been times where I've liked men more than women, or there have also been times where I just don't like anybody at all. You know what I mean? And then there's the thought of like, oh my god, wait, maybe I'm asexual, or maybe I'm like aromantic, and maybe I just like am gonna be single for the rest of my life. And then I see content on like TikTok of like couples or like attractive people, and I'm like, just kidding, I want that, you know? It's very weird, to be honest, and I would say that this has definitely screwed up my mentality, like my mental health, because I'm someone that craves stability, right? And then my sexuality changes like every day, so what am I gonna do about it? You know what I mean? I just kind of have accepted it, and have accepted that, you know, just to go with the flow. Love who you love. I'm trying to think of when I realized that I was, you know, queer, and I really do believe it all started when I was like 5, because I had a dream, and I remember this dream like defined everything for me, and I remember waking up from the dream and I felt so weird, but it wasn't because of what happened in the dream, it was more because of how I felt. Like, I was like, why did I like that? And I just was like, but that's not how that's supposed to work, you know? Like, I wasn't opposed to it, I just didn't think that that was even possible. So obviously I wake up and I feel odd, and, you know, I see my mom and I'm like, oh, like, it was a weird feeling. She's my mom, but I just felt weird. Like, even seeing my grandma, I felt weird. I guess the reason as to why I felt that way was because the dream that I had opened like a different perspective of how to view women. And also, I am the only girl in this house, and I think that definitely like plays a part in this as well. I'm surrounded by boys, so obviously I constantly hear about, you know, oh, like, she's so hot, like, oh, no. Obviously, they don't talk like that. But yeah, I just constantly hear about boys talking about women, and I hear about them sexualizing them, romanticizing them, whatever, just like idolizing them. And it's almost like I was conditioned to be attracted to women, if that makes any sense. This is really weird to explain. I naturally like both, but I've been conditioned to like women more just based on experience, you know what I mean? So first, it's the fact that I'm an only girl, okay? And then I would also say it's the fact that every single interaction I've had with a boy, like, it has just been doo-doo. It's pretty ironic that I grew up in a house full of boys and I just don't know how to interact with them, you know? Or it's not, like, maybe that's the way things are supposed to be naturally, but I've just never had that click with guys like I do with girls. And obviously, you know, it seems like it's obvious, but it really isn't. Like, I feel like I'm missing something, you know, and that has also just made me question so many things, because I'm like, you know, maybe I'm better off liking women. Maybe I'm better off going into this direction, and I just completely avoid the other one. And I'm not saying that I'm totally closed off to guys or that I'm a lesbian or anything. No, I just, like, guys to me aren't even an option, although I am attracted to them. Like, if it happens, it happens, but I'm also not actively looking towards them. But yeah, when it comes to girls, it's just very different. It's a very different experience, like, especially because I connect more with them. It's easier for me to open up with girls. It's easier for us to kind of understand each other, you know. But then again, when it comes to girls, like, they could be just as brutal, and sometimes they're even worse because you've already built that connection with them. And then when everything, like, dies down, or, like, when everything is, like, done for, it's just like, oh, wow, like, I did all of this, and this is how it turned out, you know? And it just builds a whole different level of trust issues, which I already have enough of. I remember in 8th grade, my first girlfriend, she told me, or, like, she had suggested the idea that I was maybe asexual. And I remember feeling offended, because I was like, oh, so you just don't think I'm capable of anything then? Like, ouch. But at the same time, I was like, maybe. But I didn't want to admit that she was right, because the fact that I was that easy to guess, like, I have a friend of mine who's had 2 partners, okay? Both of them apparently have a bad gaydar, and they like to play a game where they're like, oh, guess who's gay? That's dangerous territory in my opinion. But the first person they guessed was gay was me. And they were right. Obviously, I like girls, but at the same time, when I hear that it's obvious, I'm like, wait. Like, what about me is obvious? You know what I'm saying? Like, now I, like, just try to adjust my behavior. Like, I end up acting more straight. Even though, like, it's not a bad thing to be gay, you know? But it's the fact that people have assumed that I'm gay, where I'm like, oh my god, so this must be why boys never talk to me, or why I've never had, you know, any, like, experience with a guy before, because they probably think I'm gay. And I gotta say, I did do that to myself, because last year I was very active on TikTok. Still am to this day, but I don't really talk about romance as much as I did before, and I would only talk about girls. And there's this thing called the For You page, and sometimes it shows up to people who you go to school with. And you never know, like, some people might talk, some people might not, some people might share, whatever. Word can get around easily is what I'm saying. And, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if guys were like, yeah, she is the total, like, boy repellent. Not because of how I look, but because of just how I behave. You know, I feel like I embody, like, anti-men, but I really, like, am not like that. Like, I don't really even care. But I definitely was like that last year, and I ruined that for myself, I gotta admit. Again, that's just part of, like, the fluctuations of my sexuality. Sometimes I'm hyper women, actually, I'm never really hyper men. But, you know, I'll be closer to bisexual than a lesbian. You know, like, right now, if I were to give a percentage of the comparison and how much I like men versus how much I like women, it would be women is at a good 65 and men is like 35. Nope, just kidding. I would even go way lower, and I would say women is like an 85 and men is like a 15. I would honestly say this is because I have unrealistic expectations when it comes to men. Men and women don't think the same. Like, they really just don't. Like, that's just the truth. And, you know, here I am, and I have watched rom-coms ever since I was literally 5, and I have this role model, or, like, this idea of what a relationship should look like. And it should look like that. But is that the reality of a situation that we live in right now? No. Especially with, like, our generation. Like, I don't want to be that person that picks on our generation for being stupid, but, like, we're so stupid. The way that we can't communicate anymore. Any kind of eye contact is a sign of attraction, or any kind of non-eye contact is a sign of attraction. I'm getting off topic, but the point is, you know, now with the situation of the internet being our best friend, it has definitely harmed my ability to interact with other people. And obviously, how am I going to get better at interacting with boys if it just keeps getting worse? Like, the situation just keeps getting worse. I feel like I embody gay, you know? Sometimes I'm like, I don't mind. I really don't. You know, that's cool to me. And honestly, what about it? And so what if I embody gay? Like, are you afraid of a little masculinity? I feel like the idea of me embodying gayness, it's not necessarily offensive. It just kind of, it throws me off a little bit still, you know? Because I'm like, you know, I'm gay, but I'm not. You know, I like guys too, but I don't. Like, the guys that I have, like, they're all celebrities, but I still am attracted to them, you know? And all my friends are like, Alison, that doesn't count, that makes you a lesbian. But, like, does it? Like, I feel like if I was a lesbian, I would just be like, oh, that is a good-looking man, and move on for my life. But I have obtained crazy obsessions with these celebrities. So I don't think that that's necessarily lesbianism, if you may. When it comes to girls, I'm very more in tune with it. Like, I'm definitely not, I don't have any experience. Like, I'm still trying to feel out romance. But when it comes to girls, it's just a clearer image. Like, I can see myself doing a lot more with women. Like, right now, if I were to be honest, I could only see myself marrying a girl just because I need a deep connection, like a deep bond. Like, it's really easy to do that with a girl. But with guys, it takes effort and it takes time because they are very carefree, nonchalant, if you may. And I'm definitely not trying to make a stereotype, but it is what it is. Like, they're very simple and to the point. And I'm saying this because I live with, like, 2 of them. And they have their friends over who also happen to be all boys. And, you know, I hear the conversations and I'm just like, wow. Like, you guys really just don't know. I guess to me, I'm just lazy and I just don't want to put in the effort of making room for a guy, you know? Because to me, it just comes naturally to date a girl. But it doesn't necessarily mean that I'm closed off entirely to boys. Like, I'm not, like, shutting them out. Like, they're still there, and if it happens, it happens. But I'm just like, again, I'm not going to actively look for something there. Or anywhere. I'm riding solo. Oh, sorry. I'm gonna stop that. That's so bad. Hold on. I literally wrote on my phone, I wrote a bunch of things that I wanted to talk about because sexuality is so complicated. Okay, one question that I do want to ask. For those of you that are part of the LGBTQ community, for those of you that aren't, what do you think it means to be queer? Okay, that didn't hit. I did not eat that up. What I meant was, like, I feel like for me, I've built these expectations, especially in terms of, like, physical appearance. Like, my fashion is affected by my sexuality or, like, who I'm attracted to. I look towards the people I'm attracted to for inspiration, or I'll dress up like the people that they typically tend to be attracted to. And I feel like this is just, like, a thing that many people do. And it's very normal, although it sounds super crazy and super like, oh my god, you're losing your doo-doo. You know what I mean? I feel like people could probably guess my sexuality through my fashion. I know that's the case for me, and I feel like that's the case for so many other people. Specifically those who are bisexual or just fluid in general, like who like multiple genders. They kind of play around with their fashion a little bit to kind of get a feel for themselves. Like, do they want to be more masculine? Do they want to be more feminine? Who do they possibly want to appeal to? But yeah, that's just something that I've always thought about. The fact that sexuality has affected fashion. Beanies. Ultimate, like, symbol for bisexuals. Or like Sweater Weather, like that song. Oh my god, music. Oh, we gotta talk about that, because music does play a part in sexuality. Like if you listen to a certain genre of songs, you're gay, right? So like Girl in Red, she is like the president of lesbians, right? And if a straight girl just happens to like her music, there's gonna be other gay people that are like, but are you sure you're not gay? Like, it's just music at the end of the day. And I gotta say, I'm guilty. You know, sometimes if I find somebody attractive, I'm like, do you listen to Girl in Red? But like, typically when you communicate that through somebody else, they understand what you mean, and they're like, oh yeah, I do. I love your outfit, by the way. You know, that kind of flirty, typical line. But at the same time, music defines who you are. So a lot of my music last year, you know, when I was closer to being a lesbian than I was being a bisexual, I listened to a lot of Girl in Red, a lot of Clairo, just a lot of those two. And that is very gay music, you know? It's not just the music. Like, they make awesome music, okay? So everybody has a right to listen to them. But I feel like the lesbian or women love women community just tend to gatekeep them more, just because they feel like it's for them to listen to. Because there are songs that they do write, and it's like, okay, but why are you singing this if you're straight? Like, do you relate to it at all? But then again, I literally rap to Drake, and I can't relate to any of the things that he's mentioned in his song, but I still sing it because it's good. Yeah, I feel like a bunch of what I'm saying, it's not really necessarily in order, but the important thing to take out of this is just like, there's so many things that sexuality affects, you know? I'll give you another example. I'm religious. I believe in God, but I happen to be gay. How does that work, right? And I know a lot of people have this idea that people who believe in God are very conservative. And, you know, you can be right, but you also could be wrong. And in this case, when it comes to me, you're wrong. When I believe in God, I believe in, you know, this spirit that... Sorry, I didn't mean to get so deep so quick. But I believe in this spirit that truly loves people for who they are. I just keep thinking about this idea that Christians tend to say God doesn't make any mistakes, and they use that as a defense line for people who are in the LGBTQ community that are transgender, right? Who were born in the wrong body. And there are quite a few Christians who are like, God does not make any mistakes, you should stay the way you are. But then again, they're really going to say that and then have a problem with me being who I am when I say I'm gay. Like, I just want to clear it up in the air that Christians are not all the same. It's a variation of different people. There's two different ways to look at it. You could either read straight from the Bible and believe word for word, or you could just have a loose interpretation of it. And I feel like as long as you live by good morals, then no harm would be done, right? That's the way that I see my religion, and that's how I connect with God. I pray to Him as a way to just kind of connect, you know? And for other people, in other words, that would be manifestations. They would affirm. They would do affirmations. For me, I do prayers. You know what I mean? Like, that's my way of connecting with the earth, or just connecting with the atmosphere that I'm in. Just grounding myself, you know? But yeah, it's very possible to be gay and Christian. That's me. I don't know, I feel like a hypocrite when I say I'm both. But it's just like, why does it matter? I never understood, and I never will, and I'm never gonna try to understand why people are so hateful towards the idea of spreading love. You know? Like what's so wrong if it makes other people happy? Like, how does that affect you in a negative way? Like, why do you care so much if it doesn't involve you? Yeah, that's just the way that I see things. Guys, I am going to have to call it. I'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye. Thank you for listening.